Hi, Victor.
Hello there.
How are you?
I'm doing great. I love this
Good.
dual screen.
Yeah. So everyone, we're streaming on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Instagram too. So it's like we're like multitasking everywhere.
Nice.
Yeah, and then I'll be converting this to podcast too. So hi everyone. I see 8 people joining now. So say hi. Thank you very much for joining. Oh, Arjun is there. Hello. So okay. So why don't we get right to it? So Victor, you're a credit coach, and then I met Victor on LinkedIn, and then I'm really excited about this topic actually because I'm not an expert with credit score or anything like that. So I thought he's a great person to come on, and then I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions as well. So please feel free to ask. And someone from YouTube said hi. Yeah, what's up, Victor? So I think that's David. Yeah, David Alto is there. Oh, hi,
Hey,
David.
what's up, David, buddy?
Okay, so all right. So why don't you introduce yourself, who you are, and let people know what you do and everything.
Very good. So my name is Victor Vonico Johnson. A lot of people just call me Vic, but Victor Vonico Johnson, and I am a serial entrepreneur. I have two companies. One is called 555 Equity LLC, where we buy real estate and we rent it out and stuff like that. But for the purposes of this conversation, I want to talk about my other business, which is called Nico Don Projects, where we heal your past and build your future. And what does that mean? We help people improve their hiccups from the past so that they can thrive in their future. So I'm a certified credit consultant. I'm also a financial coach, I guess you would call it, where I help people overcome some of their budgeting challenges and really to build that money mindset, which is why I'm so excited to be here with you, Christine, because I've followed you for several months on LinkedIn, and all of your insights and information is always spot on. You're a super money coach. So I'm glad we have an opportunity to talk today. But that's who I am in general. There's so many other things. I'm a published author. My book is called Proven Pathways to Wealth and Happiness. I don't know if it'll show
Yeah,
here,
sure.
but Proven
Oh, good.
Pathways to Wealth and
Okay,
Happiness
cool,
by
awesome.
Victor Vanico Johnson. I am on Amazon or victorvjohnson.com. But
Wow, look at you.
yeah, that's what I do. So, and I've been pre-COVID, I was able to get out and do a lot of speaking at the colleges here in Dallas and in Atlanta. And of course, educating the young people about financial literacy and the importance and the benefits more so of good credit. So that's what I do. Obviously, I've been online since COVID, but I'm so happy to be here with you today, Christine.
Yeah, thank you. No, wow, serial entrepreneur. I'm like, I thought I was doing well, but listening to your real estate books, I'm like, man, I still have a lot to catch up here.
Hey, you are doing fine. You're doing fine.
So no, I actually want to hear more of the real estate too. So that sounds pretty good. And then and the book stuff. I just launched my podcast, but I don't know about writing books because like I'm not I don't feel pretty good with my grammar and everything. My friend always like catch grammar errors and stuff like that. So maybe that's more the
We can
link.
talk about that. There are solutions for those things too. Trust me.
Okay, okay. Awesome. So let's talk about your credit business. So it's like,
Yeah.
how did you got okay, so which one of your business was your first? Like I also I'm just curious, like when did you become a full-time entrepreneur? Were you ever incorporate or like were
Yes,
you okay,
absolutely.
okay.
So I honestly just became full-time entrepreneur where this is all I do. This is what pays all of our bills in February of 2019. So for about a year
Really?
and a half now, I've
Oh.
been 100% doing this. Now, 5 years prior to that, we had already started doing our real estate investing, buying single-family rental properties. And so my journey really starts. Um, I'm in my mid 40s. I'm not ashamed to say
Mm-hmm.
that. 46 years old at this time. And from the age of 18 until I was
Mm-hmm.
about 37 years old, my credit score was, I don't think it ever got above 525. I mean, it was
Wow.
horrible. And I was making decent money, 70, 80 grand a year at some points, and even making 100 grand a year towards the end of that journey. But I worked
Mm-hmm.
most of my career, Christine, I worked in call centers as a call center manager, and those call
Wow.
centers were collection agencies.
Oh.
So I was teaching people how to collect debt while I was going home and avoiding many of my debts, just being honest with you. And so probably around 2013, 2012, really, I got very serious about my finances because now the little kids that were around me were now like little mid teenager type kids around me, my own kids. And I just got motivated to get my own personal credit together. So I used
Mm-hmm.
information that I got from the credit industry where I was working in the call centers all those years. around collection agencies and again debt buyers and things like that. And I applied it to my own life. And so the journey of going from bad credit and paycheck to paycheck to great credit and a portfolio of rental properties and comfortable business income coming in, it was a hard journey. But that's what the book is about, what all I did to get there. And so people started talking to me about, hey, you talked about this in the book. Can you help me with my credit? And I just thought it would be a good idea to become a certified credit consultant, got some additional training, went and got certified, took some testing and things like that, and just staying abreast of all of the important factors about credit reporting. And so the journey was corporate, fix my stuff while I'm in corporate, while I'm transitioning to entrepreneur. And then, of course, now I'm a full-time entrepreneur.
Wow, that is so inspiring. I'm like just inspired listening to you. That's awesome. I didn't really come from that background. So it's like my background hasn't really been like, oh, I suffer from so much stuff. So I've always been very good with finances. I think I only did one major big financial mistake when I short sell my property during the housing crash. So I regretted that because I live in Silicon Valley and then it's like no,
Yeah.
the home is like when I'm like, oh, I could rented it out. So I was like, oh. So anyway, so God forgive
That's all
yourself.
right.
That's the
Well, you
past.
got out of that particular situation. That was the best thing to do at the time, I'm
Yeah. So
sure.
so I'm curious. So how do you become a credit counselor? Like how long does that take? What do they teach you and stuff like that? Then we get into like the credit
Yeah.
repair and all that stuff.
Well, I love that you asked that question because there are a lot of people out there using the moniker of a credit coach, but haven't gotten
Mhm.
any certifications or haven't taken any
Mhm.
formal training around that. They just study, maybe FICO scores or they know
Yeah.
some things that help them. But I actually went and studied. So there's several companies out there, but Credit Associates of America is one, Credit Consultants Association, CCA. They offer some training and some education that
Mhm.
keeps you tied into all of the updates that are happening with the FICO scores, all the various versions of FICO scores, Vantage scores, and just teach you about the things, the behaviors, and the algorithm rather of FICO and Vantage score, the triggers that cause your scores to go up, the triggers that cause them to go down. Obviously,
Mhm.
paying bills is an important factor, but we'll talk some more about some other things that you can do that
Mhm.
are kind of unspoken about, but they're very easy to do to get your scores where they need to be.
Mhm. Got it. Okay. So how many months did it took you to get that?
Oh,
This.
this was honestly, it was a self-paced
Oh, okay.
program. So you
Okay.
do your courses online, you study
Okay.
everything there, and then they give you access to some mentors and things like that. But it
Okay.
took me about 3 weeks
Okay.
to go through the full platform, and then you're taking tests as you complete each module. And then at the end of it, they give you this
Yeah.
nice little pretty certificate that gives you
Okay.
credentials for a year. So every year I update those credentials to ensure that I'm
Oh,
still, staying
got it, got
on
it.
top of
So
my game. Mhm.
also you have to do continuing CE or like to refresh that certification every year. Okay, well I am interested actually because like that's something I'm passionate about money so I always like to learn new things. So I'll look into that. I love that. Okay, so now let's get to the juice of the entire
Ah,
talk. Okay, of course we're gonna be
okay.
talking about everything else too, but so okay, credit score. So let's say a client, one of the questions that client come to me is like, oh, I have low credit score. Like, how do I like increase that ASAP? They think that there's always a magic formula and stuff like that. So as far as I know, it's like you be responsible with your paying the credit cards minimum at least, never delay. But and then I also heard about like you can pay more every week. Like for example, you have $1,000 charge this week, so maybe if when you get your paycheck Friday, pay that off right away because they pull your credit score like every 2 weeks, right? So
Mhm.
tell me, I mean, okay, if someone comes to you, like, would they have 500 credit score? Like, what would you tell them and how to build that credit? Like, and how long realistically can they see 100-point improvement and not just like some false promises? Oh, I'm gonna help you.
Mhm.
I'm gonna call this credit card company for you, and yeah, I can give you the
Right.
100 points later. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's all great points. I appreciate you saying that because again, this industry is not popular. To be a credit consultant, credit repair, credit restoration, whatever people call it, it's had a bad stigma because of from the
Mm-hmm.
90s and early 2000s. Many of them
Yeah.
were out there just basically doing illegal tactics to help people, and then that stuff bounced back to the consumer. So
Exactly.
the true answer is, if somebody immediately reaches out to me and say, "Hey, I heard you are a credit consultant. I need help." We're going to schedule a consultation, 15 minutes,
Uh-huh.
and we're going to actually I'm going to have them pull their FICO scores. I don't really care about what you're telling me. I need to
Mm-hmm.
see what the FICO score is calculating. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, FICO will charge you to do a credit monitoring to pull that score, but we need to see the real data so that we can give you proper guidance. From there, the reason that I have them go to FICO is because 90% of lenders, whether you're buying a house, a car, a credit card, or a loan, they're using FICO predominantly to determine your payment behaviors, which is that's all your
Mm-hmm.
credit score is. So anyway, I'll go through a 15-minute consultation with them. If they don't have their credit score, we'll talk through that in general, and then I'll direct them to pull that FICO. Once they
Mm-hmm.
have the FICO score or the report, then I can thoroughly look at it and say, okay, I see where some of your opportunities are to improve. And within my business, we have some tools. So we have an attorney that backs us, that has an attorney software that will go in and identify
Mm-hmm.
any errors that are reported to your credit report. And
Mm-hmm.
so what credit repair companies do, they just start flashing out letters to the credit bureau saying, "Hey, this is inaccurate. This is inaccurate. This is inaccurate. We
Mm-hmm.
don't need your letter. We're not sending letters for you. We don't take a copy of your ID. We just take that FICO credit report that you set up on your own. We
Mm-hmm.
upload it into our attorney proprietary software, and it starts looking for those errors, and it challenges the data on there for 90 days. Well, for
Oh,
45 days, and then a second period. Then the
okay.
rest of it is us guiding them through each item on their credit report and telling them which items have the fastest and most impact to give you an increase in your score. Because many people will pull their credit score and they'll see 10 items on there that are negative, and they'll just start slowly, one at a time, paying them off, or maybe even attacking the highest interest rate first. That's not always the fastest way to improve your score. If you're trying to clear your credit of all bad debt, well, yeah, that's a strategy to do it. But there are some faster methods to get your score up legally without creating fake social security numbers and flinging 10,000 letters to the credit bureaus and jamming up that process. So
Mm-hmm.
to answer your question, they would do a 15-minute consultation. I would look at their credit report and give them specific guidance on what we need to do to help them get where they're trying to go.
Got it. So if you don't mind, like, can you give me an example without giving, the client
Yeah,
detail? Like, what have you helped them? Like, when you saw something, they're in the 500, maybe bad credit score. What did you see, and then what did you advise them, like top three to work on that actually improve their credit score fast?
for sure. So
Mm-hmm.
typically, you're always going to see a credit card that's overutilized. Somebody that has that $1,000 credit limit and they're charged up to 90 or $990, right? So obviously, I'm not a guru to tell you pay your credit card down to improve your credit score. Um, you know, Traditional wisdom says bring it down under 30%. Well, we'll guide them to get it down under 10%, not to
Okay.
zero, but to 10 under 10%, like 9% of the limit, because you don't want it to go to zero. They could close out your card and then you lose whatever positive history that card had, plus the age
Mm,
of credit. So
got
that
it.
would be one thing, looking at where they are with their credit utilization.
Okay.
Secondly, we always see collection accounts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so whether the depending on whether that account is still with the original creditor as a charge off, or if it has actually been sold or assigned to a collection agency as a collection account, that determines which way we would go to address that. But I can tell based on the coding, the type of account, how they have it categorized. I can tell right off just by looking at it within 2 seconds whether or not that collection account is one, being accurately reported, but two, whether or not it makes sense to even pay it as far as raising your score. It may make sense to pay it as far as approval for a mortgage, but for your
Mm-hmm.
credit score, it may not have any impact on improving your score. So I'm
Got it.
able to see some of those nuances based on the type of account that it is and how long it's been on there and that kind of thing. But those are two quick things: pay your credit card down, and then of
Okay.
course tackle any collection items that are inaccurately being reported.
Got it. Got it. Okay. You said FICO score. What do you think about Credit Karma?
Okay, so Credit Karma is generating your credit score from the Vantage credit scores.
Mhm.
Vantage is another scoring model. There are two major scoring models out there. FICO is the big dog out there, and then
Mhm.
TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian back in 1990 they created their own scoring model. I guess just to kind of keep FICO honest, and they created
Mhm.
their own scoring model called the Vantage score. And both
Mhm.
FICO and Vantage go through frequent iterations, and updates. So there's a Vantage 2.0, a Vantage 5.0, and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
FICO 2, 4, 5, 8, 12, there's all these FICO scores. And
Mhm.
so when people always come to me and say, well, hold on, let me see what my credit score is. And they'll go on their phone. And of course,
Mhm.
they're going to their Credit Karma. Well, Credit Karma has me, let's see, my TransUnion is at 580 and my Experian is at 585. Well, first of all, excuse me, your Equifax is at 585. Credit Karma is not going to give you your experience score. So you're only getting two of the three major scores, first of all. And then two,
Mhm.
the algorithm is different. And I wish I
Mhm.
would have been able to like share a screen. We could have set this up for another call, but
Mhm.
I can show you how the two different algorithms are calculating. I'll give you one
Mhm.
example. FICO scores, they will look at the number of inquiries and new accounts added to your
Mhm.
credit report,
Mhm.
and that factors about 10% of your credit score. So
Mhm.
if you have 850 is the max score, up to 85 points will be impacted by too many inquiries or having too
Mhm.
many new loans on FICO. That
Mhm.
same behavior on Vantage Score, new inquiries and new loans, is I think 28%. So meaning that, and just a quick calculation on 850, 28% is 238 points. So if you lost 238 points on your credit score, that brings you down to 612 versus losing, 85 points on an 850. You're still in the 760. So it's two different scores. You're that same exact behavior. You pull your
Mhm.
FICO score and you're at 760, but on your Vantage score, you're sitting at a 612. That's
Mhm.
one of the biggest differences. And so I don't like using Vantage scores, which is Credit Karma, Credit Wise, many of the free credit reports. If they don't have that FICO logo, it's not a
Mhm.
FICO credit score.
Got it. Okay, so when I'm getting car loans, mortgages, they run FICO, right? Not Vantage
You
or.
don't know that, you need to ask the
Oh.
lender because some
Okay.
of
Okay.
them will use FICO. The
Mhm.
bigger lending institutions and underwriters are going
Mhm.
to use
Mhm.
FICO. It's just more
Okay.
reliable. Um,
Okay.
some smaller companies, it's probably cheaper to use a Vantage score, or some may use FICO, but they will only report to your TransUnion FICO, not to your
Good.
Experian or your Equifax. So you won't know just
Mhm.
walking onto a car lot whether or not, oh, this is a
Mhm.
FICO credit reporting pulling company. You
Yeah.
won't know
Yeah.
that until you get down and sit
Yeah.
down with the finance manager.
Got it. Got it. But then, like, when you have any debt, like those credit card companies, do they report everywhere though? Like, let's say you have late payments, so they report that everywhere, right?
The credit bureau reports based on
Oh.
what that company wants to report to. So I'll give you an example. Let's say,
Mhm.
and I'm not representing any company out there, but let's say I
Yeah.
own XYZ car dealer and
Mhm.
I let you buy a car from me 2 years ago. You
Mhm.
stop
Mhm.
paying on it and I
Yep.
repossess that car. Okay.
Mhm.
Well, I'm only reporting your payments and all that stuff. I decided I'm only going to report it to Equifax. Okay. So
Mm.
when you go somewhere and apply for another car or a house,
Mhm.
if they don't pull your Equifax,
Mhm.
or when they pull your FICO report, they'll see, well, hey, your Equifax score is so much lower than your TransUnion and your Experian. I wonder why. And when they pull the
Mhm.
detail, they'll see, well, that repo is only reflected on your Equifax, not your Experian and TransUnion. So that's what I'm telling you.
Mm.
There's
Got
so
it.
many
Yeah.
nuances, and you'll look at 10 accounts on your credit report. Five of them are reporting on all three: Equifax, Experian, TransUnion. Two of
Uh.
them are only reporting to TransUnion.
Got
Three
it.
might
Got
be
it.
reporting to Equifax. So
Okay.
the lender decides how they want to report that. And they usually are making that decision based on the risk that they feel you would be. Um,
Got it.
if you're
Got it.
somebody that they think might default down the line, they might report to all three so that anywhere you go, that thing is going to pop up and you're going to have to take care of my debt.
Got it, got it. Okay, so let's talk about like the credit cards. Like, okay, so I know I've seen people like open credit cards then close again, especially like travel points. So it's like, and I know about the length of time. So if you've had that credit card for a while, so I guess it's better to just like charge maybe $10 every couple of months or whatever just to keep it open. So tell me, what is a general rule about credit cards? Like, when can we close? When can we open? And then like, what if we want to take advantage of this travel rewards? Can we just open then a month later close it? Because like, I know a friend, he claims that he's been opening and closing, it didn't really affect his credit score. So tell us more about that. Like,
Excellent.
how does that work?
They're
Hmm.
excellent points. So
Hmm.
it's important to keep in mind that your credit score is taking into consideration all of the activity that's reporting to your credit report. So in this
Hmm.
guy's example, he might have 2 or 3 houses that he's paying mortgages on and never been late on.
Mm.
That's keeping his score solid no matter what his credit card
Got
activity
it.
does.
Got it. Okay.
Somebody else who doesn't have that mixture of credit, it's very important that they manage the credit that they have, which might be
Hmm.
just the credit cards. So
Hmm.
my rule of thumb is, let me give you an analogy. If you have a open and active credit card, meaning that the card is open, you're using it frequently, on a monthly basis, paying it down, using it, paying it down, that is considered open and active. Let's say
Hmm.
that activity is worth 10 pounds. You're lifting weights, that's a
Yep.
10-pound dumbbell.
Yeah.
Well, when that card goes to zero, and let's say it's been at zero for 3, 4 months, and the credit card company's like, well, I guess they're not going to be active on this card anymore, and they close it. Well, now, even though you may have never been late on that credit card, because it's now in a closed status, it's only worth the 2-pound dumbbell. So
Mm.
you still got positive credit because you had a positive payment history while it was open, but you just
Hmm.
lost 80% of its value because it's not active and it's not open. The
Okay.
credit bureau, the credit scores are based on, they're trying to determine, are you a safe bet to loan to based on everything else that's going on. So if I
Hmm.
am a FICO company and I am telling Capital One, GMAC Auto, yep, trust my data. Christine is the best customer you're going to have walk on a lot today based on her credit scores. Well,
Hmm.
I got to know that based on how you paid your credit card, how you manage open accounts, that you can take on more responsibility. Therefore, I'm going to push your score up. But if I
Hmm.
see where as soon as you added another credit card, you closed the credit card, that might suggest that you can't balance things out right. So if you're looking to open up a new credit line or another credit card for rewards or points, I would just suggest make sure that your overall total utilization, I don't care
Hmm.
if you got one credit card or 10, the combined balances should not be more than 30% of the total available credit that they're extending to you.
Got
So it
it.
doesn't
Wow.
matter if you get 1, 2, 10 cards. Um, you'll see your scores fluctuate, but not
Hmm.
wide ranges. And
Got it.
again, unless you were to suddenly decide to close several of your credit cards that you've been paying on good,
Hmm.
and now they're no longer coded as active. Now they're coded as closed. So you just lost a lot of the value that you have built
Got
up
it.
over that time
Got
period.
it.
So hopefully that makes
Wow.
sense to some folks.
Wow, that's yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, my friend probably is has a very good like mortgage and everything. That's why it doesn't really matter what. So you have to really look at the overall picture. Okay, that
Yeah.
makes sense. Okay, so in the comment, Rob Sharkey asks, how often would you suggest checking your credit?
All right. So without driving yourself completely insane, um, I don't suggest checking your credit every day, right? I mean, the changes aren't going to happen that frequently, but
Yeah.
I do suggest checking them no less than quarterly, right?
Uh
But
huh.
right now, because of COVID and the CARES Act, you can check your credit score every single week, every 7 days until April 2021, because there have been some benefits that have
Mm.
come
Yeah,
out
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
CARES Act, that are helping
Mhm.
consumers with their credit. So these
Mhm.
are new changes not only for the consumer, but for also the people reporting this data. Like student
Mhm.
loans right now, those have been, frozen for people that are making student loan payments. And if you are
Mhm.
making a payment, they're not supposed to be charging you interest right now, at least as of January
Mhm.
31st through
Yep.
the end of COVID. So that's a new procedure. If you didn't make a payment and the student loan administrator is used to applying a late payment or a late fee to you, or a even worse, a negative late remark on your credit report, they may not have their processes down right. And it's important for
Mm-hmm.
you to check your credit report to ensure that they are following these new CARES Act
Mm-hmm.
guidelines. So I
Got
would suggest now, because we're in a unique situation, probably checking your credit report at least monthly,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you have some upcoming purchases or things going on in the next 6 to 12 months.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I would highly encourage people to look for, inaccurate data, things that you might have paid off that are still showing up on there.
Mm-hmm.
All that kind of activity, you need to kind of see what's happening with you. And if you're not planning any purchases, pull your credit report anyway, just to see what somebody else sees you as. If you
Mm-hmm.
did decide, you know what, I need a new car. My car broke down. I need a new car and I need to
Mm-hmm.
finance it. You need to know what they're going to be seeing on that credit report, at least
Got
before they do.
got so where do you recommend to check the credit score for free or credit report for free? I know I use Credit Karma, but do you have any other recommendation? I mean, I don't know if Credit Karma is good enough, or what do you recommend?
Yes, I should have said that. So the only place you can get the free weekly credit report is
Mm-hmm.
annualcreditreport.com.
Okay.
Annualcreditreport.com. And that is the only official credit reporting entity that
Mm-hmm.
the government feels comfortable, relying upon for this
Mm.
data. So yeah, that's the only one you can get, the weekly one for free.
So is that just because of COVID you can do weekly? Because oh,
You
okay,
can
okay.
otherwise you can get one free per year through that same website,
Got it.
but
Okay,
as part of COVID, they're doing it every week.
got it. Got
And
it.
the one thing to
Mm.
remember, it's not going to show you your credit score. It's going to show you your credit report and your credit data.
Oh,
So you're going to
got
have to go
it.
to FICO if you really want to see your credit scores.
So how much is FICO? I mean, like, can someone still use Credit Karma because it's free? Like,
Yes.
just
Look,
generally?
and I'm
Hmm.
not sitting here yet. I don't want to bash Credit Karma. There are lenders that use that data, and it's very important for
Okay.
you to rely upon that data. And in general, it's still showing you your behaviors. It's just scoring some of those behaviors differently than FICO would score those behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
So, what I encourage people to do, if you're going to look at your Credit Karma, just go further than just that quick wheel that they're going to give you that shows you the score.
Mm-hmm.
Click into the detail so that you can see what the details are. And then even more importantly, what I really love about Credit Karma is it will show you what changed from the last time that you saw your score. So I
Mm-hmm.
would highly encourage people to look at that. And then that
Mm-hmm.
will at least tell you, oh man, I paid off this credit card and my score either went up or down, depending
Mm-hmm.
on some other factors on your credit report. And that will maybe help you determine how to move forward with your credit card activity. But
Got
yeah,
it.
Credit Karma is still good. It's more though for an advertising. So one of the first things you're going to
Of
see
course, the
on a
ad's
Credit
free,
Karma is they'll
right?
say, "Hey,
Yeah.
this is the perfect credit card for you. You should get this credit
Just
card based on
ignore
your
those.
credit."
Just ignore those and focus on the information. Okay, so just scroll,
Exactly.
scroll, and then okay. So don't worry about those ads. Okay, so we have a lot of great
Oh, you got
questions.
some good
So
questions coming in.
Arjun
Yeah.
Solhani asked, "Great topic. My credit score jump up when I start carrying a balance on several of my credit cards. Like, how do you explain that, Victor?"
Okay, so he probably, and I don't know what his score or what his activity was before that, but if he didn't have a lot of activity, there's not a lot to score on. But if you go suddenly and open up credit cards and you're actually paying them, or loans, and you're paying them effectively, it's going to shoot your score up tremendously, because now it's saying, well, here's a person that really didn't have much activity going on. They just went out and got 3 loans or whatever, and they're actually 3 months in, they've been paying them on time the way that we've asked them to according to term. So that's a positive. And that tells FICO, hey, this is somebody that's probably going to be responsible. So let's kind of start nudging them up that scale a little bit. So that's definitely something that I would suggest. Without getting too crazy and open up tons of credit cards, if you're a person that doesn't have any credit, you might start out with one card and see, manage that appropriately, and then go to maybe a gas card or something. Slowly kind of start building up your credit that way. Don't go crazy and start opening up with tons of credit cards just because you think it's going to shoot
Yeah.
your credit score up.
Cool. Thank you, Arjun. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so Arjun asks, what do you think about credit monitoring services or ID theft services like the Experience One, LifeLock, and Xander IDT?
Those are all fine. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you can they're doing what the consumer can do on their own. You know, we have the ability to put a freeze on our credit reports without any cost. We have the ability to, you know, investigate all these type of things, but these are companies that you know, they're effective, and they usually will give you some kind of notification if there's a new inquiry that happened. You went and applied for something, you didn't, you know, realize they were going to run your credit. You'll get a notification, those type of things. I love those services for that, just because it's more instantaneous than you waiting till next week to go pull your credit report again. You know that. So I would applaud those companies
Mm-hmm.
specifically for that reason. But again, you know, I can't advertise or promote any one over the other. I would say if you're going to do credit monitoring, you might as well go with FICO, because they're the ones that 90% of lenders are using. So me personally, I use FICO for myself and my wife to ensure that our scores are where we want them to be.
Got it, got it. So just to give an idea, how much does FICO cost if someone wants to have all the services with FICO?
Absolutely. So FICO, again, I'm not an affiliate of theirs, or I don't work for them, but FICO has 3 or 4 different products, is what they're calling it. So
Mm-hmm.
for maybe just to get one of the credit reports and one uh, monthly monitoring, they might charge you, I think, $19 a month. But the one that I always advertise or suggest my clients to get is the advanced product. The advanced one is going to give you all 3 credit reports. It's going to give you an updated credit report and FICO score every 90 days, and you'll get text message or email alerts every single time something has happened on your credit score, up or down. So if you paid down a credit card by $20, the next day, if not that same day, it's going to give you an alert. Hey, you just reduced your balance by $20. Hey, your score went up 10 points or 5 points, whatever it is. So I love FICO for the credit monitoring. It's $29.85 per month. It's
Okay.
not a contract. You can cancel it anytime. I think they have a one-time product where you could pay like $60. They'll give you all of that I just described, as far as the 3 credit reports, the FICO scores, but it's not a monitoring service. You won't get the alerts going forward.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So Kyle has a question. Kyle Cantor said, as of 2 months ago, all of my credit cards are paid off. How often do I have to keep them active by using them again?
So hopefully in the 2 months they haven't closed any of them. I would go out and buy a cup of coffee or something, Kyle, and then make sure you pay
Yeah.
that $6 in full before the month is out. You know, but I would say you're right at the verge where, you know, they're the credit card companies are constantly, they're in this thing to make money. So if you're not charging the card, you're not making them any money, especially if there's a
Mm-hmm.
zero balance on it.
Mm-hmm.
If
Yep.
you have a
Exactly.
balance, they don't care if you're not using it. They're still going to make the interest on the balance that you do
Yeah.
carry. But so
Yep.
you have to think of it as a business. They need you to use their money so that they can continue making money from you. Otherwise, they're like, hey, well, this guy's already figured this thing out. We're going
Mm-hmm.
to cut him off. So,
Got it.
Kyle, go buy a cup of coffee, my friend.
So you have so for you it's okay to have as many credit cards as long as you don't use it, but then keep it, just keep it for the length of the time. You can even just put it on the side and just make sure to kind of go through them, revolve through them, to just charge them, right? And then, like, that's only if I'm not encouraging people to open a bunch of credit cards, okay? But if you already had some before, so just keep it alive, especially when you have such a long time frame on that, right? Just to, I don't know, a Macy's card, maybe charge $10 or something like that, and then just to keep that credit cards alive. Okay, good question,
Absolutely.
Kyle. Okay,
Mhm.
but Rob said, does the bank pull from all of the credit card companies when you get your free one?
Does the bank pull from all the credit card companies when you get your free one? When you get your free credit report, I guess, does the
I
bank?
assume he meant like some. I think some banks do offer that, a free credit reporting. Like sometimes I
Okay.
think my Citibank and Chase, something they do offer that,
I
and then I do see the credit score, but sometimes not all of them have the credit report. Although I don't really use them, but I do see credit score from some of my banks.
So that question, Rob, is a very specific to that banking institution. So
Mm,
one of the banks I'm with is Chase Bank, and the credit monitoring that they offer is not for all credit. I think it's only Experian that I'll get from them. With
mm.
my
Yeah.
USAA,
Yep.
they're giving me my Vantage scores from all three credit bureaus. But again, it's the Vantage. So you kind of, I would check with my bank to find out, or even when you go into that app on your phone or on your laptop, it should show you when you go to click onto that. Usually it's going to take you to a third party service to get that data. And that will usually tell you, hey, this data is pulled from FICO or from Vantage, and it's going to be your TransUnion, Experian, Equifax. So I would check specifically with my banking institution on that one,
Yep.
Rob.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Sakia asked, how many times can you ask for a credit increase? I don't even ask this, they just increase my credit. But then, like, I guess that could be good, right? That will actually improve your credit utilization. So your denominator will be higher, than your percentage will be lower, right? So what do you think of that?
Sakia just pulled out one of my secret weapons for some of my clients. She just
No
pulled
longer
one
a
out.
secret now, Sakia.
No
You got
secrets.
Victor in trouble.
That's all right. No, no, no. It's good. I
Just
love
kidding.
that because she is a educated consumer. So
Hmm.
I don't know how often you can add. I mean, you're only going to be able to do it probably every 6 months, maybe once a year on average, just based on what I've seen. There might be
Hmm.
other credit card companies or banks that will let you do it quarterly. It doesn't make sense for them to do it more frequently than that, I wouldn't think. But I would say probably once to twice a year. And it's definitely going to be based on how you've managed the credit utilization that we talked about a while ago. And to your point, Christine, most of the time, if you've been doing great with your payment history, you'll just go on your account one day to check the balance or make a payment. Like, holy cow, they added an extra $1,000 to this thing,
Yeah,
right?
I got to
So
10,000.
yeah, absolutely. But it's a great. So one of the secret is again, if I have a client that has a $500 balance on a
Mhm.
$1,000 credit limit, they are at 50% utilization. $500 is half of the $1,000 credit limit. So if their scores are in the low 600s and I don't see any other threatening items on there, so to speak, I would say, look, here's some things we're going to do on your side. But for you, when you hang up this phone, call your credit card company, see if they'll raise your limit from $1,000 to $2,000. Well, now that if they do that, you went from 50% utilization to
Mhm.
25% utilization. You probably just boosted your credit score by 20 points with that phone call. So that's a great guidance, Sakia. Call your credit card company, especially if you haven't had it done in 2020. I would definitely call them, especially if you've been paying them on time or you're not late. A lot of the credit card companies are helping people through COVID by giving them extended credit or higher balances on their credit cards.
Oh yeah, to that question. Because of coronavirus, can clients actually call credit card company? Let's say they have a balance of $2,000 and they've been paying just the minimum or whatever they can. Are credit cards company offering now, like, you can call them and say, hey, can you give me a discount or whatever, like a settlement, whatever, like I can pay all of that. Can you give me a discount? Like, is that a good negotiation to call credit card companies to try to help people get out credit card debt right now?
So it's important to know what status you are in with that credit card. So we talked about in the earlier part of the show, if you are still with the same original creditor, but you're now more than 120 days past due on your balance, that is what's called charged off. And if it's charged off, it's not always as easy to get them to take a reduction in your payoff, which is called a settlement. However,
Mm.
from a taxation standpoint, that company, when they charge it off, they've just told the IRS, it's probably not likely I'm gonna get my money back. So I need to get some of my money back as a write-off from you, IRS. And so it gets coded as a charge-off. Once that happens, you have a greater probability. Once it becomes that, I'm sorry, once it becomes a collection, that's when you have the greater opportunity to get the settlement, which is again that discount. Um,
Oh.
I don't know right now. Credit collection agencies and credit card companies that are collecting on past due credit cards, I'm sure they're being a little bit more favorable than before. Partly because, well, at least up until January 1st here in Dallas, the courts were closed. So even if they didn't, if you weren't paying them and they wanted to get a judgment against you, they were in line waiting on the courts to open back up.
Yeah.
So they were probably a little more favorable with working with somebody as opposed to before COVID.
Yeah.
As things start opening up more and getting back to what we call normal, I guess, I would say it might be a little tougher. But I'll give you another secret. Hey, I'm full of secrets today. I worked in collection agencies for almost 15 years, basically. And I'm going to tell you the best time to negotiate your settlement is the last 2 days of the month. If you call a credit, especially if it's been in collections for more than 90 days, 6 months or something, call them and see if they're willing to negotiate. Look, you say I owe you $500. I got $200 right now. I can wire it to your Western Union if you send me a letter. If you send me a letter stating that upon receipt of my $200 payment by this date, that this account will be considered satisfied in full. Well, once you get that and you're comfortable, then you can go about settling that account. Somebody just said that you should never negotiate anything less than account closed satisfactory.
Okay, so I'm gonna go to the comments in a bit. So basically, okay, so you said 120 days. So the credit card has up to 120 days to actually try to get money from you. Then it goes to collection. Is that correct?
Well, what at the 120 days past due mark, that's when the company will charge it off. So,
Okay.
meaning for their books, they have to report that I haven't been getting
Oh,
paid from this. So
got it.
it gets coded as a charge off. And
When does it?
usually, once it becomes a charge off, that's usually the point when the creditor will say, you know what, no need to keep it
Oh,
here in our office. Let's go ahead and outsource it to a collection agency,
oh, got it.
and that kind of
Got it.
thing. Yeah,
Got it. Okay, but then that gets coded by the IRS. Okay, so because like there's also a forgiven, like some forgiven loans. So when does that become forgiven? I guess when the settlement says, okay, we're not gonna collect it from you. Then let's say it's 3,000. We never collect from you, so it will
gotcha.
become a taxable income. So when does
Yes.
that happen? So it seems like there's different stages, or there's
Yes.
charge off. Okay.
Great credit. Great
Okay.
question. And I'm not a CPA. I'm not an accountant. So I need to say that first. You need to speak to your professional tax professional if
Mm-hmm.
you have tax questions. But what I can tell you is that once you've settled an account and they have written off $600 or more, or I think it's actually $599
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
greater than 599,
Mm-hmm.
so $600 or more, then you will have that $600 or greater reported by that entity as basically income. Because basically what they're
Yes.
saying is you had a $1,000 credit card that was charged off with us.
Yes.
We
Yes.
gave you an offer to pay $400 to settle it. So technically, you
Oh.
saved $600. We're going to
Okay.
report that to the IRS, and they're going to
Okay.
tax that as
Yes.
income because we didn't get it. So we're going to basically blame it on you, and you got
Okay.
to pay the tax on that. Again, your
Okay.
tax situation
Yeah.
may be completely different,
Yes.
but they will
Okay.
report it because they waived more than $600,
Got it.
more than $599 on your debt.
Got it. So when they go to collection, the $400 go to collection because they say 600. We forgive the $600 and $400 go to collection. Usually, do they? Is that typically what happened? Like after 120 days?
So the 400 in that example was the amount that you and the collection agency agreed to pay
Oh, got it.
as the
Okay. Got
amount
it.
of your.
Got it.
So in other words, it
Okay.
was a $1,000 balance.
Got
You
it.
guys
Okay.
agreed, hey, pay me 400 and we'll make this thing go
Got it.
account satisfied, as the gentleman says here.
Got it.
And that
Okay.
$600 that you did not pay,
Mm-hmm.
you don't owe it anymore, but they're
Yeah.
going to report it to the IRS and say, hey, we told you that this was for 1,000, or we bought it, a balance of 1,000, but we only
Mm-hmm.
collected 400, and that 600 got waived. So there may be a
Got it.
tax event related to that
Got it.
for
So
you
so
on that.
that's about the 120 days when it goes to collection. Okay, okay,
Right.
okay. Got it. Okay. Arjun must just clarify more information on my first question. I hated the idea of credit card debt, so I always paid off my cards in full. Over the course of 6 years, I opened around 15 cards. Wow, free stuff by the way.
For the
Score
win. Yeah.
flow. The score floated around 750. When I started carrying balances in 2020, it shot up to 800 for the first time.
When you
So
started carrying balances.
So Arjun, did you mean you never carried balances in those 15 cards, or like very little? So I don't know. I assume there was very little balance, and then he just started charging carrying balance. That's what you said. If there's activity, then it will shoot up your credit score,
Only
right?
thing I don't know. That one, I'd have to see his report. It, it leads me to believe that he probably has some real estate or mortgages on there. When you are making mortgage payments, that's probably one of the best things for your credit score. It's going to shoot your score up so
Mm,
fast, faster than paying down credit card debts and things like that. So you may be benefiting from some of your mortgage activity or maybe
mm.
some other debts that got cleared in the past. It's hard to qualify, and I don't want to give a specific answer here on a public forum without seeing your specific details, Arjun.
Yeah, Arjun. So go to Victor, and then you guys have a chat.
But Arjun's kicking butt, man. 800, 750 credit score. I love it.
I know. Okay. So let me see. Okay, so someone asks, okay, what reason can you stay for wanting to raise your credit card limit?
What reasons can you stay for wanting to raise your credit card limit? Um, what reasons can you stay for wanting to raise your
Um,
credit card limit?
yeah,
So, what are some
Mona.
reasons that you would want to raise your limit? Um, the number one reason I would tell you is to improve your credit score, not to go put in a new kitchen. That's the part that, as a consumer, as an American, we get taught to get credit to consume, right? So,
Yeah.
I would say if I'm understanding the question, what would be the reason to ask for a raising your credit limit? It would be basically, hey, I'm trying to improve my credit score.
Yeah.
Now, I get it. The other part that just came to my head is, do you want to tell the credit card company, hey, give me more limit, but I'm not really going to use it? That's probably not what you want to say
Yeah,
on the call. Hey, give
don't
me,
tell them,
yeah,
don't.
yeah, add $5,000 to my credit card. I'm not going to use it. I just want to benefit from my credit score.
Yeah, don't say, just say,
Yeah,
oh, I'm gonna spend this, that, so they'll be
you
happy.
know, I don't know that I've had them ask me why. In fact, what comes to mind is the only couple times that I've voluntarily asked them to raise it was something like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense. It is the holidays, or something like that." It was like there
Yeah.
was no reasoning. They
Yeah,
didn't
yeah, yeah.
need like
It's
didn't fill out
yeah, it's
nothing.
quite sad here in America because we have so much credit cards, credit limit. Like we live on credit. Like literally, if you have $10,000, you might not have the $10,000. Oh, I can spend up to $10,000 because you only pay the minimum. So it's quite sad. I was born and raised in the Philippines. I
Yeah.
moved here in 2000. Before then, it was all cash. Like there's no concept of like credits. Like here, you come here, it's
Mhm.
like, oh yeah, charge. Oh, you only pay $20 a month. That's fine. That's fine. You just pay the interest. So
All
makes it
right.
easy,
I
right?
did a I did a presentation last year at Richland College here in Dallas, Texas, and I was doing some research preparing my PowerPoint. And one of the things I came across was that the average American, and we're talking about 80% of Americans, are spending 125% of their income every month. How do you
Yeah.
spend 25% more of your income every month? Credit
Credit.
cards. Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
It,
Or
it
loans. There you go.
it's just crazy. It's quite sad. There's no financial literacy here. It's not mandatory. So I wish, like, I don't know why that's not being changed. Maybe we should vote. Everyone vote on Congress. Like
We're changing it. We're changing it with these platforms right here and right now.
exactly.
That's good.
Okay. So Michael Gomorrah said you should never negotiate anything less than account close satisfactory. I'm not sure what does that mean. Like when you're
So what
closing a
he's
credit card.
saying is
Hmm.
kind of what I was talking about. You don't want them to accept the reduced settlement unless they're agreeing to mark it as a closed, it's satisfied. Now, it might not always say account closed satisfactory. It might
Hmm.
say satisfied in full, paid
Hmm.
as agreed, paid in full, settled in full. There's a few different namings for that depending on which bureau it is. But yes, I would agree with him. Get in writing that they're going to mark that account as satisfied in full or
Hmm.
finalized. This is will be a zero balance upon receipt of this payment.
Got it. Okay. So, Mike, he said again, there's no point in negotiating or paying any debt unless it's reflected as paid satisfactory. Okay, Sounds like Michael knows his stuff there. Okay,
Yep.
Kenneth Dunner says, I usually pay my credit cards bills in full each month. Great job, me too. And all the credit card companies must hate us, right? Because they're not making money from us.
Right.
Okay, so Michael said, my credit card went down when I paid off my car note. Credit mix is a score factor, and the car was a major loan. Oh yeah, like what about car loans? Like, do you think that's a good way to? Is it as good as mortgage? I mean, like sort of as good as having a mortgage because you're paying something monthly.
Yeah, as you're paying it, it will continue to increase. The biggest thing I want people to understand in this conversation is the biggest thing you could do to improve your credit score is to always pay bills on time. With every month that goes by that all your bills that are on your credit report are paid on time, you are
Mm-hmm.
continuing to boost your credit score. So there's
Mm-hmm.
nothing that's more effective than that. That's
Yep.
35, 40% of your credit score.
Yep.
But
Oh.
here's what happens. Let's go back to my analogy about the 2 pound dumbbell and the 10
Mm-hmm.
pound dumbbell. So
Okay.
you paid off your car loan. You've never been late on your car loan. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a month before your last payment is due. Your credit score is probably 700, 750. 3 months, 2 months after you pay it off, that balance goes to zero. The account goes from active to closed. Remember, closed accounts, 2 pounds, active accounts, 10 pounds. So
Mm-hmm.
you lost some of the effectiveness of that auto loan because you're no longer responsible for it. They
Yep.
don't see any strain on you to have to take care of it. It's already been satisfied. You got
Mm-hmm.
credit for it while you were juggling it because they didn't know if you're gonna stay on point with
Mm-hmm.
it. So they're rewarding you every month. Yep, we got another on time payment. Get that
Yep.
guy a star. Get that girl a star. But now it's done. So they're not gonna keep giving you stars every month, months and months after you paid off that car loan.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how your behavior's changed the month after you paid off your car loan. So they
Mm-hmm.
can't give you credit for that positive
Yep.
credit for that loan anyway. They're
Yep.
looking now at other factors.
All right. Let me look at another. Okay. Bill Thomas said, is the credit repair industry saturated? Are there opportunities for newcomers? Oh,
Mhm.
Bill, you're trying to be credit coach too. I was also telling Victor I'm now interested to learn about it
Right.
as well.
I love it. Well, Bill Thomas, there is definitely a saturation of bad credit repair companies, or unethical credit repair companies, or cookie cutter letter sending credit repair companies. But if you want to be somebody who really takes pride in consulting someone through their credit challenges, educating people on how to manage their credit better, to continue to thrive with their credit life, then there's a very small space for you. As far as there's not many of us out there like that. And
Mhm.
being truthful, my price point is a little bit different than a monthly subscription fee. I don't charge people for 18 months $100 a month like many credit repair companies are doing. But I will
Mhm.
charge you a flat fee because my time, my expertise, our resources, our tools, the guidance that we give you, we include in our 90-day program, we give people a video that walks them through basically an action plan that we've created. And then I'm going to have myself or one of my colleagues create a video around that action plan. So I've
Mhm.
literally had clients call me months later and say, you know what? We did a family meeting on Sunday, and I had 7 of my family members watch the video so that I could educate them on ways to improve. I use my bad credit. This is the person saying, and the guidance that you gave us to improve my credit score. And I educated 6 other family members on a Sunday afternoon. So this is we take pride in educating people on that. And Bill Thomas, you're not going to run across a lot of people that will do that. There's a lot of people that are using softwares out there that are auto generating letters, and they're not personalizing this stuff for their
Mhm.
clients. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, they're getting some minimal results, and that's good enough to encourage them to get more clientele. But they're truly not
Yeah.
educating people the way that they should. Not
Yeah.
all, but the mass
Yeah.
majority of them out there are not
So
operating that.
okay, so how do you find a good credit coach? Like I see advertisement for like, oh yeah, I can call the credit cards for you, negotiate for you. Like, are they good? Like, how can you? What kind of research can you do to know that they are credible or like good credit coaches like you? So yeah,
Yeah.
uh,
Well,
educate
one,
people. Mhm.
one, I would ask them, are they certified? Do you have anything that
Mm.
shows me that you've taken extensive training in this? that you have a expertise. You've put in a certain number of hours of learning this education. That would be the
Mm-hmm.
first thing. Provide me something that shows that you are at an elevated status in credit
Mm-hmm.
education.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, check their credentials. Do you have 3 or 4 references that you could send to me? Some people that you've worked with in the recent past that have come to you with a bad credit score and are now on the other side out of your program and have purchased their home or purchased a car. I got dozens of them I could send to you. Or you could
Mm-hmm.
check with the vendors that I work with that send me clients. There's a slew of mortgage lenders that I work with that live and die by me responding to their people. They'll text me in a group text, hey, Victor, this is Sally. Sally, this is Victor. You guys need to talk to help my client get her scores where they are. So credentials, referrals, and check with the vendors that send business to them. And
Mm-hmm.
it won't be either you're not going to get anything
Mm-hmm.
or you'll be easily able to verify whether or not they
Mm-hmm.
are a qualified person. And then I
Mm-hmm.
guess the fourth piece would be things like this. Are they consistently dropping valuable education, things that maybe you
Mm-hmm.
took 1 or 2 nuggets from a post that I did on LinkedIn or something
Mm-hmm.
from
Yep.
this
Exactly.
podcast that actually helped you raise your score? That might be something that would tell you, hey, this person knows what he's
Mm-hmm.
talking about or she knows what they're
Mm-hmm.
talking about. So yeah.
Okay. So what about those that call the credit cards to actually negotiate for you? Are those even like valid? Like, do you do that too?
Those are debt consolidation companies or
Oh, okay, okay, got it.
credit counselors. No,
Mm-hmm.
we don't. So
Okay.
one of my team members is IAPDA certified, which basically is the
Mm-hmm.
credentials that allows her to negotiate settlements on debt. So
Got it.
she is qualified to make the phone call
Mm-hmm.
for you, with you, and negotiate. But more frequently, we're guiding our clients on how to negotiate that
Mm-hmm.
because I don't want to jump on that call and then they have a follow-up conversation with you later and you
Mm-hmm.
weren't
Mm-hmm.
prepared,
Yeah, yeah.
conversationally. So
Okay.
we guide them, we give them a settlement template, some different letters, some things that they can submit to their
Okay.
creditors to make offers
Mm-hmm.
um, and get high results and responses from them.
Got it. So are those effective usually to improve your credit score?
Well, again, as I said, not every collection account is
Um,
going to give you points, but
got it. Okay.
sometimes you have a collection account on your credit report that may not be hurting your credit score, but your mortgage lender wants you to take care of it so that they
Mm-hmm.
can get you qualified or they can get you a better rate or they can get you in a special payment program. So the collections do need to be addressed and at
Mm-hmm.
least looked at and resolved, but
Mm-hmm.
not every time paying a collection account is going to
Mm-hmm.
always raise your credit score.
Got it. Got it. Okay, so we're almost at the hour. So before we end, I do want to talk a little bit more about the real estate investing. So how
Yes,
did
I
you
love
got
it.
into that? If someone wants to get into that, like what advice do you have for them? Like how many properties do you have now, and how did you get started?
Right now,
Mhm.
we brought it back down to 5 single-family properties.
Wow.
We've had 7,
Where?
and that's the thing; they're all over. San
Okay.
Antonio, Texas;
Okay.
Kyle, Texas;
Okay.
Kansas City, Kansas; Smyrna,
Okay.
Georgia, which is north of Atlanta.
Yeah. Okay.
And so these are places that I either have family or I've lived. And so
Mm.
through my various ventures, I would say, hey, it's time to buy a property. So
Yeah.
you let me backtrack to you said, how did you get into it? First of
Mm-hmm.
all, I want to say this. It's very important that I say this. Both of my grandmothers, black women in the 60s, owned rental properties. They
Mm-hmm.
were neither of them were married women. These were single black women, and I'm very proud of them for that because they built a legacy for my family that
Mm-hmm.
can never be taken away. But one
Yeah.
of them was in California, one was in New York, and they were buying properties in the 60s and renting them out to people. And so I was inspired by that as a teenager. I was inspired by that in my early 20s and early 30s. But you know what? I never took action. I had the
Mm-hmm.
information, I had the inspiration and motivation, but I didn't take action. And
Mm-hmm.
so finally, I moved to Austin, Texas in 2015. And here's the non-credit thing I would guide or give to people. Listen, folks, change your environment, it changes your conversations. I changed my environment, got to Austin, Texas, and started having conversations with people about that were buying rental properties and real estate. And so I was making more money. My debts were behind me. I decided to put my money to work for me and not just me to work for me. And so I bought that first property in San Antonio in 2015 and have continued to do that. And you asked, what would somebody do if they're interested in getting into that? Well, lo and behold, after doing so many of these things, I'm somewhat of an expert. And I have created my own platform. I have online courses where I teach people how to buy their first rental property in 90 days. You can get that on the same website under my face here.
Mm-hmm.
Or I do coaching programs where I charge $1,297. If they tell me that they came through you, we'll knock $300 off of that, and I will put them in the 90-day program so that they
Mm-hmm.
can get their own rental property going here in the
Mm-hmm.
next 90 days.
Oh, cool. So basically, okay, so you buy property. So do you use like the equity from one to buy another one, and then you just kind of go on like that?
Um, Yes and no. For the first one, I did not. I actually used private money, a private lender. It was
Mhm.
very expensive money, but
Oh,
I was very intentional about why I was using it. I was using it to
got
buy it and to fix that property as quickly as possible. And then I refinanced that property for a
Oh,
much
okay.
cheaper rate. And
Okay.
so that's part of the coaching that I give is show people how to do that. Since
Cool.
then, my credit was better and my finances are better. So I have utilized equity from one and purchased another. I've used some other creative financing strategies to acquire properties. So now, again, I've gotten very comfortable with making offers, buying properties, and
Got
being able
it.
to rent those out pretty quickly.
Wow, wow. So you do you need 20% for the rentals like down payment or like more than that as if it's an investment?
In a conventional situation, yes, you would be required to
Mm-hmm.
put 20% down on an investment
Mm-hmm.
property. But again, there are several ways to acquire properties. And again, reach out to me if you're very interested in
Wow.
learning that
Yeah,
process.
no, I'm now interested. So we need to talk about that too,
Let's
because
do
I've
it.
actually been thinking about that, but I'm like worried about like investing in a place where like I don't live. Like, do you recommend that? Because you live in Texas, obviously, so it's like pretty close by. Like, I mean, like
Hmm.
I just feel like that there's more risk if you don't live in that place. Like, I mean, is that
Well,
okay to?
my
Mhm.
strategy is, and everybody is different, but my strategy is live where you want, invest where you want. Why
Okay.
not? I mean,
Yep.
you're in
Yep.
a, if you follow a process
Hmm.
and a certain system, you can do it anywhere. There are
Got it.
probably, I would say, probably 40 to 50% of landlords do
Mm-hmm.
not live in the city that their property is in.
Mm-hmm. Got.
So,
But you
yes,
had
there are definitely ways to
got
do it.
because you had family in the other state. Like, what was that state again? Sorry.
In Georgia and in
Yeah.
Kansas City, but
Mm-hmm.
they don't manage the properties for me. I
Got it.
just I just happened to be there, and opportunities came up, so I bought there.
Got it.
And also in Atlanta, in Georgia, I have a daughter who just had a daughter, so I'm a granddad
Uh,
now, and
wow,
so
you are
yeah, exactly.
you're
Oh, go
literally
figure.
young.
Thank bless
You
your
take
heart,
care of
girl.
yourself. I thought
Fountain
you
of
were in the
youth, right there. Fountain of youth.
yeah, I gotta give him some compliments here so he can give more. So just kidding.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so thank you so much. Like if everyone looks like there's no more question. We're at the hour, so sorry we went a little over. So why don't you tell people how can they find you? Of course, Yuri put your oh wait, actually I can't bring your stuff back up again. Let's
That's okay.
see. Okay, 1 second.
There
Okay,
you
yeah,
go.
go ahead. Okay. Mm-hmm.
All right, so that's my website, nicodonprojects.com. Or you can connect with me here on Instagram, on IG, at the Victor Vanico Johnson _
Oh
Nico
my
Don
god, that was
Projects.
like so long. I was like, did you just like mistype that, Victor? I was like, when I was reading your email, is that your Instagram? Like, did I just like?
Right, right. Yeah, I'm weird like that. I put my name and my company in it because people look for me both. Anyway, so yeah, you
Okay.
can find me there or Victor V Johnson, Victor Vanico Johnson on LinkedIn, Facebook, and on. You please, folks, follow me on YouTube, Nico Don Projects. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. I drop a lot of good, useful information about real estate, about credit,
Mhm.
about finances,
Yeah.
starting your business. I love to connect with folks out there. As you can see, I
Hmm.
just like to share. I love to see people winning out there. So if
Yeah.
I can help you, I would love to be a resource.
Yeah. So I'm gonna tag you in this post, of course, afterwards. So
Okay.
you might get a lot of connection. So where do you hang out mostly though? Like you're in like different platforms. Like where do you hang out mostly?
I love LinkedIn. I love the
Okay.
community over there. Everybody just so intelligent on
Yeah.
LinkedIn. So I really
Yep.
love those conversations.
Hmm.
But when I be a little bit ratchet, I could go to Instagram or Facebook or
Rick
something.
Ratchet. Oh, you mean like
A
when
little
you want
bit,
to be like a
just a little bit ratchet. Want to let my hair
Costello?
down.
All right. So thank
Yep.
you so much to everyone who joined. Thank you so much, Victor. I mean, I really
Yes.
appreciate this. So you want to stay on afterward? Just hang on, okay? All right.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. Bye bye. Let me just